All right, in this episode of the LPDS, we get into some sports updates, of course, a little bit of current event world updates, and then I have a little bit of a rant session that I want to get off my chest and get your opinions on over in the Junction. All that plus a cage fact coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti, the show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything, and we have a good time doing it. At least I do. If you're looking in YouTube land, and of course, as soon as I say that, my video freezes up, so I don't know how that's going to look in post, but we'll figure it out. If you're looking at YouTube land or on Spotify video, you can kind of see my fingies are still bruised. They're doing better though. They're still numb. The tips of the fingies are still numb, except when I put pressure on them. Then I can still feel the sharper pains in there. So they're on the mend. The swelling went down significantly. It just looks like I painted two of my fingernails very poorly, a dark color like Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears. And I don't want to be associated with that only because he stinks at quarterback right now. So when he's better at quarterback, maybe, you know, we'll get, maybe I'll be on board with with his nail color, his nail polish color options or ideas or whatever. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, crazy week, very busy week, I should say. Not so much crazy, but sort of crazy, but very busy. Things are moving in the undercover operation, by the way. I was hoping to have it buttoned up by now. By time you are tuning into this episode, it could very well be buttoned up. But as of the time of this recording, we're not done yet. But there are some significant updates that I want to keep you apprised of. So all that, I'll wrap it all up and we'll conclude business, if you will, hopefully by the next episode. So if you're waiting on pins and needles for that update, just know that I didn't forget about it. We're still very much in the shit, if you will. So anyway, moving on to let's do some sports. Okay. Giants stink. I've realized after the last game that I've watched, again, by the time this post, they'll have more games under their belt. I don't know. I don't know who they're playing next, who they're playing now by the time this post, but their last game they lost to the Chiefs. Now they had a golden opportunity to actually beat the Chiefs there because the Chiefs were not playing well at all. They were kind of stinking it up. But because the Giants are not good, they blew it too, and then they ended up getting blown away at the end of the game. But what the heck was I going to say about them? Here's what I realized. When they had that close game against the Cowboys, it wasn't because they had things figured out and they just missed it. They just lost at the end. They had that close game because the Cowboys stink. Okay? And there's a good chance that they beat the Cowboys the next time they play them this season because of how bad the Cowboys are. Now, the most recent update, again, I'm recording this before football Sunday, Monday Night Football, all that, so the Giants have not played again yet, but they announced that they're starting the rookie Jackson Dart in game 4. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hopeful. I think it's going to take a while for him to actually show potential. Don't forget, their offensive line is still not good. So he's still going to, he's going to struggle in the beginning getting used to that ops tempo of receiving the snap and immediately having to scramble and run away for his life. So once he gets used to that, then we'll be able to actually see what his potential is as a quarterback. Unfortunately, Russell Wilson, he's just too old. He's just over his over the hill, over his hill, whatever. Not in his prime anymore. He can't scramble. He can still throw the deep ball, but not as deep as he used to be able to. But he still tries to throw it as far as he used to be able to, and it's causing incomplete passes, interceptions. And he's not. I don't know if it's because he refuses to believe he's getting older and he's not as strong as he used to be, or what. But he can still throw a deep ball. I'll give him that. But he can't scramble like he used to anymore, and he can't hit his deep targets like he thinks he can, like he used to be. And he's still trying to do that, and he can't scramble, so he's not even giving himself a chance to launch those deep balls like he wants to. So they're sitting him. They're putting in Jackson Dart. I would have liked to have seen Jameis Winston get in there, like I said earlier on before the season, and maybe split their time between Jameis and Jackson, get Jackson some more reps, but don't set the kid up to fail like so many teams have done with so many good rookie quarterbacks before. Is they just throw them in and they stink it up because their team stinks in general and they're rookies. They have no guidance. And then everyone's like, oh, this guy, why would they pick him? He stinks. Well, you set him up for the fail. That's why. So I'm hopeful. We'll see how it goes. I could be eating my words by time, I guess, like I said, this post and the Giants could get routed in their game 4. Who knows? I hope that doesn't happen, though. Anyway, moving on to the Yankees. I'll keep this brief. I still have a lot of issues with a lot of the things going on with the Yankees. Again, right now, as of this recording, the Yanks have one regular season game left. So I'm recording this Saturday. They have one game left. They need to win, and the Blue Jays need to lose their final regular season game for the Yankees to win the division. Now, the Yankees have been playing better overall for the most part. What concerns me is Boone. Volpe's he's still Volpe. You're not going to change that. But Stanton and Judge are lighting it up right now. I'm hopeful that Stanton, turns into playoff Stanton or continues what he's doing right now into the playoffs, because I love playoff Stan. He's one of my favorite players of all time. Playoff Stan. So he's doing well. Judge is obviously doing well. Everyone seems to be doing okay enough, which is fine. But the two things that concern me the most are really around Boone and the coaching staff. One, there have been things that the Yankees have done in the past several games that shows me that they're not ready to compete in playoff baseball. There are fundamentals that they still stink at. Most of them still stink at, that you absolutely need in the playoffs. If you look at the last several games of any team in the major leagues right now in baseball, all the teams that are competing for wild card and playoff spots and division spots or whatever, the ones that still have a chance, have you noticed anything different about how they're playing those games? You notice how they're not relying on just home runs and exit velocity, and they're stealing bases. They're getting guys on. They're doing hit and runs. They're bunting. They're playing baseball. They go back to the fundamentals of baseball, playing the game of baseball how it was meant to be played, which again is crazy to me, because why don't you just do that all season long? I know why. It's because they care about money and profit and highlights and home runs, get fans in the stands, because fans are stupid these days, and they want the game to be exciting. But for any baseball enthusiast, actual baseball game enthusiast, to me, exciting is doing those things to win games, stealing bases, making the pitchers sweat out there, sneaking in some drag bunts and some push bunts and some sacrifices and this and that, and winning games. I want my team to win. Okay? The reason why they're in this neck and neck race with the Blue Jays is because they didn't give a crap in May and June when they were playing grab ass with each other, collecting the worst record in baseball for that time span. They were a poopy then. Does everyone remember that? And now they're fighting for their lives to get the division win. And they still haven't figured out the fundamentals. So that's one thing that worries me. The second thing that worries me with Boone is I'm watching how he's managing the team right now in these last several games when they absolutely need to win this division, in my opinion. And he is managing the team like he does not give a shit about winning the division. Like, because they clinched a playoff spot, they guaranteed that a few games ago. Once that happened, he packed it in, and he's managing the team and putting out position players and making pitching decisions based off of the fact that we don't care anymore. We made it to the playoffs, and none of this matters. When it absolutely should matter to them, because they don't know how to do the fundamentals right. They can't bunt for shit. They can't steal bases except for Caballero, and they bench him constantly, so he's barely even out there to steal bases and to play baseball, and you can't rely on Judge and Stanton alone. Historically, you can't rely on Judge at all in the playoffs, unfortunately. So I don't understand why he doesn't seem to care about winning the division. They need to play as little games as possible to win the World Series. Put your team in the best possible situation to succeed. Win the division, get the bye. Otherwise, you're immediately, you play your last game, you get like 2 days rest, and you're immediately back out there for the wild card. 3 games. And that completely screws up your chess and strategy on pitchers and bullpen and players and roster moves throughout the rest of the playoffs. And I know he's not that stupid to not realize that. It just seems like he doesn't care. Or he's being told by Cashman not to care. Settle for the wild card because that's all we need. We made the playoffs. Now I can tell the fans that I'm doing a good job because I created another playoff team. I don't know what the deal is with that, but that's what worries me the most, is that his managerial decisions are not good, and he did not prepare his team fundamentally to compete in the playoffs. And they're going to have to rely on playoff Stan. And hopefully their starting pitchers that have been doing good throughout the regular season continue to do well, even though in the playoffs they're going to have a much higher ops tempo and a lot less rest and more pressure put on them. So we'll see how that goes. I do love the way Stan and Judge are playing, though. It's really fun to watch. Anyway, moving on. Very quick on world current events. Everybody, I'm sure, has seen that Trumpy Bear and RFK Jr. announced that they're working with the CDC, FDA, the medical teams to put a recommendation in that pregnant women should vastly limit the use of Tylenol while pregnant, because there is a correlation to autism and other stuff going on. And I'm sure you've all seen how the anti-Trumpers responded to that by taking videos of themselves pregnant and downing Tylenol like Skittles. Now, once again, I don't care if you like Trumpy or not. I don't care about your political opinions on anything like that at all. But I care about our ability to critically think and independently think for ourselves and not be stupid To put it bluntly, I care about us not being stupid for the sake of an ideology. Because whether you hate Trump or not, the idea that they're recommending minimizing the use of a drug while pregnant to help your baby out in the future, that should be to me that should be a pretty like nice thing to recommend. Oh, okay, they're not recommending amping up drug use to help your kid, because that would be fishy to me. You're like, why would more drugs while I'm pregnant help my kid out in the future? They're recommending minimizing it. And they're not saying that it causes autism. They're saying there are correlations. And if you do some critical analysis and digging on your own, you will see what the medical doctors and the studies actually show, how it correlates and what it does in combination with other things going on in your body and the babies and this and that, why it could elevate the risk of autism. And again, from a medical perspective, why would you not want to do that research and have that peace of mind knowing, oh, okay, well, I will limit the intake. There's recommendations to limit caffeine intake, no alcohol, no smoking, no fish because of the high levels of mercury, all for the sake of your baby. And it's all limiting things. And everybody is okay with that. That all makes sense, right? Makes sense to me. So why wouldn't this also kind of make sense? At least on the surface, when you think about it, oh, limiting drugs could help minimize the chance of this syndrome, this disease, this whatever. Okay, on the surface, that does make sense. Then as you look more into it, to me, it makes more sense. Again, you don't have to like Trumpy Bear. You can hate him. But remove him. Remove RFK. Just look at the situation on the surface. And then do the research. You will also see, if you actually did the critical analysis, like we preach here on the LPDS, that Tylenol itself, the official Twitter of Tylenol and the owners of the drug itself, acetaminophen, have stated, we don't recommend taking any of our Tylenol products, Tylenol PM, Tylenol non-drowsy, Tylenol migraine, whatever they have. We always recommended that you limit the use of these while pregnant for years. All they're doing is taking this Harvard medical study, by the way, from Harvard, which is as anti-Trump as you can get these days. They conducted this thorough study a while ago, a couple years ago. All they're doing is they finally took the time in the government to read through the study and see, and now they're making the recommendation. But because it's Trumpy Bear and RFK with his voice box, people have just shut their brains down and decided to go, I don't know what they're doing. Like, you're sticking it to Trump, but you're hurting yourself and your kid in the future, possibly. A couple of people have already been hospitalized for basically overdosing on Tylenol. They're dealing with liver failure now. They're dealing with medical issues because they OD. They took too much at once, all for their TikTok videos, all to stick it to Trumpy Bear. Now, to me, again, that's nonsensical. The fact that people are reacting in a crazy way because of an ideology, because of who the information came from, is wild. That is what's crazy to me. It doesn't make any sense. You don't have to like the guy. Okay? If Joey B said the same thing, if his team came out and said the same thing, is that how you would react? Again, look at the surface. We're recommending you limit the use of a drugs, to help your kid out in the future. I can't wrap my head around a world where I would not be okay with that recommendation. Oh, less drugs in my body, less unnatural substances in my body. Yeah. Like, let's do that. There's not a world where I would think the opposite. Ooh, less drugs? No, I want to pump my body full of drugs and chemicals and stuff I know nothing about. It doesn't make sense. And then there's people out there that are, obviously the media and the other politicians are twisting the words to say that Trumpy Bear said that Tylenol is bad for you. You shouldn't take it. And that's not it either. And again, I don't care what you feel about Trumpy Bear. Okay? Objectively speaking, take the step back. Do the LPDS critical analysis of all the information going on in the situation before and make an informed opinion based on the actual information. Remove the ideology and the feelings and the emotions behind it and the hatred towards a guy and just think about it from a common sense perspective. At this point, I feel like Trump should just say, we want you to take more drugs, because then they'll protest by throwing their Tylenol out and actually helping themselves. That's what he should do. And I've said that before. He should just say the opposite of what he wants to happen, and the anti-Trumpers will just protest that and actually do what he ends up really wanting. He should come out and say, yeah, I think Tylenol is great, and you need to take more of it while you're pregnant. And you need to do all this other stuff too. And then people, it seems like the idiots, the stupid people, will just protest. They'll throw the Tylenol out. They'll eliminate it from their daily diet. And then their kids will end up being healthy. Their newborns will be healthier, possibly. An increased risk of a healthy baby. It's just, like I said, mind-boggling. I wish the pendulum swung back towards free, independent thinking, detached from political ideologies and generalizations and craziness. And this is on both sides. This particular issue came from Trumpy Bear, but it happens on both sides. With the Quanons, the QAnons, and they respond the same way in protest. It doesn't make sense. Don't be stupid. Don't hurt yourself over something so stupid like this. There are now women in the hospital. Some of them are likely going to die because of their stupidity and their protesting of something so ridiculous. So I'm begging you, whatever your political opinions are, wherever your allegiances are, detach from that. Please don't hurt yourself and those around you because of those attachments and those ideologies. It doesn't make any sense. It's not worth it. Don't overdose on Tylenol. Tylenol tells you not to do it as well. They've been telling us it's 2017. Listen to Tylenol for once. I mean, good Lord, it's craziness. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say about that. With that, move right along. Let's get into the good stuff. Let's step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Finger Blades. From the makers of the Tech Deck Finger Skateboard comes the all-new Finger Blades mini roller blades for your fingers. For those of you who don't use your fingers with the ladies, slap on a pair of finger blades and start shredding around your office desk, kitchen table, or parents' basement furniture, since that's where you definitely live. With the finger blades, instead of being a productive member of society or make better use of those fingies, now you can stay inside and hit sweet jumps off your Monster Energy drink can, ride the rail of the edge of the coffee table, Or hit that ramp you made with the 1994 copy of Playboy you found in your dad's filing cabinet. So to snag a radical pair of finger blades today, visit www.bladesofglory.com. And if you use the promo code SmellMyFinger, you get 29% off your first radical pair of fingy blades. I must have been sleep deprived when I wrote that sponsor. Anyway, the Cage fact. There's actually a few things about Cage that have popped up recently. So some of them, as I go through them, they're going to seem outdated, but I'm not going through multiple Cage facts in one shot. It's too much for you guys. We're in the cage. We don't want to bust out of the cage, so to speak. So it has been announced that Nic Cage will reunite with the director of Con Air on a film about a World War II spy. It's a World War II spy thriller based on a true story. And Nic Cage will be in it, and it'll be directed by the guy who directed Con Air. It's the first time that they're working together again. Now, there have been a lot of rumors and gossip sparking that because they're going to be working together, maybe that'll reignite the flames of them doing like a Con Air 2 or something like that. I don't think that's in the cards necessarily, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it. But the movie sounds pretty good. It's about these British spies in World War II and this operation they conducted against the Germans. And I believe the actual story, what happened with these spies, one of the British spies in real life is who they based James Bond off of. And now they're going to create this movie that involves that same story, that same group of real spies. So no information yet on what Nic Cage's part is going to be. I really hope he's a British guy and has to do a British accent because I am on board for that. But we'll see. You know, he's got a lot going on right now, a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. The Nic Cage renaissance continues. So, that's the Cage fact. You're welcome. Moving over to the Junction, spin the logo up. Moving right along here, folks. I really don't have much this week, hopefully. I don't know how long I've been going already, but I wanted to vent here a little bit. And I also want to get your take on this after the fact, maybe in the comments or the hotline 202-670-1114. Because this has been irking me for a while. It's been annoying me for a while. And it's something that early on in my life, my young adult life, high school, college, I chalked it up to my ego getting in the way of things. And not because of the situation itself. But as I got older and continued to hear the same line from different people, I tried as much as I can to remove the ego and assess the situation as objectively as possible, and it still bothers me. So again, hand up, I am still associating a lot of that with pride and ego, and maybe some sort of insecurity that I'm not really, I'm not able to discover or identify right now with this particular situation. But this problem is still a problem for me. It still annoys me when people do this. And that is when, no matter the topic, conversation, situation, whatever, when somebody who is a parent ends the conversation or responds and defends an argument or a thing that they're doing by saying, you don't understand because you don't have kids, or you'll understand once you have kids, but right now you don't understand. You don't get it. Now, again, when I was younger and I heard that from people, Now, I got mad because of an ego. Like, I'm the smartest man alive. Why wouldn't I understand that? But I knew that was ego and pride and my young, uninformed brain playing tricks on me. I got it for sure. But I'm 38 years old now. Okay, I have a lot of experience in life and different aspects of life that I can absolutely attribute to similar situations in parenting. I will never say ever that I know how to be a parent completely 100%. No, I don't think anybody would, even people who are parents. I want to put that out there right now, though. I am not saying I'm a better parent than anybody else because I'm not even a parent. And I will never say, oh, I have a dog, so it's the same thing. No, it's not. I understand that. But through my time in life and my experiences dealing with people, being in the military, learning, growing, improving throughout my life, one of the things I have realized is that you don't have to directly experience something to understand it. You see what I'm saying there? And if you're a parent, I'm going to ask you to take the LPDS step back and think about that objectively too. Because we've all been in situations where we haven't specifically experienced something specific. I know I doubled up on the specific there, but you understand it. Oh, I never played baseball before, but I understand that somebody who throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that tails down and away is a very difficult pitch to hit. I don't have to play baseball at the pro level to know how difficult it is for somebody to swing a bat and try to hit that ball coming from a guy 60 feet away. Physics, timing, athletic ability, hand-eye coordination, all that comes into play when trying to figure that out. I don't have to actually experience that for myself to understand how difficult that is. Okay? That's just one example. So I ask you all to take the time to think about that in general, a time where you understood something that you didn't specifically experience yourself. Because we all have it. Some of you might have to dig deep and slough your egos aside, but we've all dealt with that. And that is the one big thing I've realized in my short time of life right now, is that there are definitely things that I understand about parenting that I haven't had to specifically experience, but I understand it. Like how on paper, you can have a plan on how you're going to parent and how you're going to discipline your kid and this and that. It's going to be great. I'm going to tell you I'm going to be better than my parents were at disciplining my kid or getting them to eat their vegetables or do their homework and stuff. And then when you have a kid, you realize these are little feral, non-logically thinking, just little animals running around. Their brains are sponges, but they have no knowledge in there, basically. And there's no logic behind most of the things they do, especially as they're, babies and then toddlers and infants or whatever the hierarchy is as they grow. So those plans and that stuff on paper, that con-op on paper you have, was going to go right out the window. I've had plans my whole life on how I would parent. Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell my kid that they have to, as soon as they get home, they're going to do their homework, and then they're going to go, practice their sport if they play a sport or their instrument, and then they can watch TV. But in reality, that's never going to happen like that every single time. There are so many factors that play into shit like that. And I understand that. And I am not a parent. I also understand things about taking care of people and things based on my different experiences of taking care of people and things. Like I said, I will never say having a dog is just like having a kid. It's not even close. Randy is very easy to take care of. He's a high-maintenance dog, but he's very easy to take care of. But I understand the concept of having to potty train something that shits and pisses that you don't want them to do it in their pants or on the floor. I also understand that you have to do that with something that doesn't understand your language specifically. My sister has to teach my niece potty training. She has Down syndrome. That's a tough thing for her to do. She has to teach a child that, but a child who has DS. It adds an extra layer of difficulty and delay and length of time for it to happen. I understand the difficulty there. Like I said, it's a lot easier to take care of Randy, but guess what? I still had to potty train him. And he doesn't speak English. He doesn't know what I'm saying. I don't know what he's saying when he's barking at me. We had to figure this out like Helen Keller almost. So I understand that, but I never experienced it with a child. But to say I don't understand that, in my opinion, is poppycock. And over the past several weeks, there have been people, especially peers, who have children who have ended conversations like that. You don't understand. You'll understand when you have kids. What really grinds my gears about it now is that when I was younger, it was coming from older people. Parents, older relatives, older friends of family that have kids my age, like my friends' parents. So even though my ego got in the way and I got annoyed by that, thinking I was the smartest man alive, I also now understand that, like, they're older and more experienced. There is a way higher likelihood that I don't understand shit. So I got it. But when it's peers that do that, here's what really bothers me about it. It comes off as like, I'm smarter than you. And again, this is ego. I know this is my ego creeping in. But this I'm smarter than you. Because I have kids now, I am now behind the curtain. I know what goes on. I have this VIP access to things you couldn't even fathom. You don't understand. I have kids now. You don't understand how this works. What I don't understand is how you became a genius just because you had a kid. Because let's be honest, most people I know with a half a brain, they become parents and they all say the same thing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing still. Just because I had a kid doesn't mean I'm a great parent. I don't know shit. I have to figure it out. So it's condescending when you come in and try to end a conversation or move on by saying, well, you don't understand. Well, you don't know that for sure. Okay? You don't know what everything I've experienced and done and learned about in my life to know that for sure. B, if I'm such a stupid, inexperienced bozo, why don't you gift me with the knowledge and understanding? Why would you end the conversation with you don't understand instead of trying to help me understand? I joke about my time in the military a lot with my friends and family all the time. I especially make jokes about this similar thing where we'll be doing something and talking about a particular thing, and I'll say something. They'll be like, "What are you talking about?" And I'll joke about like, "You don't get it. You've never been to war. You just don't get it." And we joke, we laugh about it because it sounds silly and stupid, and that's actually not the truth. But when I'm being, in all seriousness, I do everything in my power to not make people feel dumb because they're not in the military. They weren't in the military. They didn't go to combat. They didn't do this. They didn't have to they had to move states every 3 or 4 years. I try to explain, like, hey, I don't, when someone says, like, I don't get what you're talking, like, why did you move every 3 times? Well, here's why. In the military, if you're an officer and you do this X, Y, and Z, you have to move X, Y, Z years, and this and that, and this is how they assign, and this is how they do this, and this is how they do that. This is how you deploy, and this is why I feel the way I do about this, because in my time here in combat, and I try to explain it out in a way that they now understand where I'm coming from, and we can keep the conversation going, and in a way that doesn't make them feel stupid and less than and dumber. Because I never feel like I'm above anybody in that regard. We all have different life, except for like murderers and pedos and the like. But I never feel like I'm better than anyone else just because I did something different. Just because I was in the military doesn't make me better than my brother who was not in the military. It was just a different path. He has different experiences and different skill sets because of it. And so do I. And that's great. And that's why it really chaps my ass when people end the conversation. Well, you don't get it. You don't have kids. Like, well, help me get it. Help me understand why you used to think it was okay for, runners to bowl over the catcher in baseball, and for pitchers to hit guys who pimp home runs, but now you change your ways because you have kids in Little League. You played baseball. You grew up in that time where you can get bowled over by a runner if you were a catcher, or you can get plunked in the back if you pimped a home run or something. You were fine with it then, but now you have kids and it's different. Okay, explain that to me. What happened to you and your emotions and your state and your evolution that now makes you uncomfortable about it with it? Just explain it. I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to dog on you for it. I just want to know. Well, now I have this protective sort of feeling where it's like I want my kids to be safe and happy all the time. Now, I may not agree with that, but now I understand where you're coming from. But just to slough it off as you don't understand. You'll understand when you have kids. You don't understand now, but you will when you have kids. You'll see. It's not all sunshine and assholes. Yeah, no shit, dude. Don't talk down to me like I'm some stupid idiot because I don't have a kid yet. And again, I understand that, and that's a lot of ego still. I try to slough that off and get less annoyed by that situation. But there is still that section of annoyance because they decided that they're not going to even waste their time explaining or helping me understand their situation. Why wouldn't you want to help your friend out or your family member out? This is why so when you're a father, when you're a parent, you'll actually have a leg up now because I helped you understand it. Great, thanks for that. Thanks, friend. Thanks, cousin, whatever, family member. I appreciate that. Why wouldn't you want to? If you're calling this person a friend or you're a family member that you actually enjoy, why wouldn't you want to help them out by explaining this to them and helping them understand? I don't get that. Why would you want to feel that like, oh, I'm behind the curtain. I'm the VIP. I'm the parent. You don't understand. No, I fucking don't. So help me. Or I do, and you're just making an assumption that I don't because I don't know why. Because you're being a condescending, ignorant prick. Help me understand. Don't just end the conversation. You don't understand, and then be done with it. That shit still really bothers me. Because now what happens? I still don't understand, according to you. Does that mean we're going to stop having conversations about this topic forever now until I have a kid? What if I don't have a kid? What if the little sergeant is shooting blanks and I can't have a kid? I'm just going to be less than for the rest of my life? According to you? Stop it. Let's be adults here. If we're considered friends with each other or good standing, family members with each other, Help a brother out. Help me understand. Don't be an asshole about it. And if you do this, if you continue to do the you don't understand bullshit, I'm going to call you out for it now. Now, luckily, nobody in the LPS community does this. I happen to be bitching about non-LPDS universe people. And once again, you guys in the LPDS universe prove yourselves to be the best of the best. And I'm not taking any credit for that. That's all you. That is not me, like, because you listen to me, that's why you're the... No. You guys just happen to already... You're already the best. And you're supportive, and you never pull this shit. And I can't even think about a time or a situation where I had a bitch... Or I decided to bitch about something. I didn't have to. I decided to. I don't have to do anything. I decide to bitch and whine and be a baby about things. But I can't think of a time where I decided to bitch and rant about something that I know an LPDS universer has done or committed or anything like that. You guys are awesome. So if you're listening to this and you're tuning in, there's a 99.9% chance you have not committed this offense, in my opinion. If you're a new listener, I don't know. You could be. You could be the committer of the offense. I don't know. But anybody out there listening now, if you pull that shit and try to tell me I don't understand, just tell me. If you try to tell me I don't understand and then leave it and then not even try to help me out to explain it, or even ask the question like, hey, are you familiar with this? Like, have you dealt with anything like this in your life with any, at all? Have the conversation to assess whether I understand or not. No, you're making an assumption I don't understand, and then you're doubling down on being a dickbag by not helping me learn about it. Or if you're doing it, not just me, anybody else, if you do that to anybody else as well. Anybody in my circle of life, you're getting called out for that shit now. It really bugs me, and it has nothing to do with the fact that, like, I'm bitter you have kids. I love that you guys have families. And I can't wait to hopefully share that experience with you all. Unless you didn't want your family and it was an accident and now you're dealing with it. I still like the fact that you decide, you're still working through it and having the family and taking care of your kids or whatever, but whatever. I'm happy for you guys. I very rarely have any sort of bitterness or legitimate jealousy towards anybody in my circle, the brotherhood, the circle of friends, the LPDS universe, anything like that. When I say I'm jealous to somebody, it's with excitement, like, oh my God, you guys, you got to do this. I'm so jealous. That's awesome for you. And it's just like a flippantly, yeah, of course I'm jealous. I want to be in that position, but not out of anger, not negativity. I'm happy for you. I can't wait to also be there with you. So I just don't understand this idea. And maybe people maybe they don't see it that way. That's a possibility too. When they do that shit, you don't understand. They're not seeing it as you're less than. Maybe they're just being lazy that day. They don't feel like explaining it. Or maybe they can't explain it and they don't want to say that out loud. I don't know what the reason is, but if you're listening to this and you know me, now you know not to do that shit with me. You can give me the feedback. Help me learn. Hey, I don't think you understand this because this is how I learned about it. Let's find out. Let's have the conversation and find out if you do actually understand. And you know me. If I still don't understand, I'll tell you, hey, look, it's something I still can't wrap my brain around because I never experienced it. There's a ton of things in my life that I say that about. I said it on here multiple times, on multiple episodes over the years. I just said it earlier when I was talking about Tylenol. I can't wrap my brain around people being so embroiled in their ideology and their political narratives and teams that they're willing to put their lives and their children's lives at risk just to stick it to the guy on the other team. I will never understand that. And guess what? I'm never going to experience it either because I'm not going to do that shit. So I have no problem admitting, like, hey, thanks for the explanation, but I still don't get it because I haven't experienced it. I haven't experienced those feelings you have or whatever, those emotions or this or that. But I appreciate you explaining it and trying to help me learn. And I have a better understanding now. Now I have a little bit more empathy towards this situation with you. So maybe now that I can adjust how I approach you and this when we're talking about this topic or this situation or whatever it is, I am now armed with more information for us to have a better experience when we talk about this in the future. But I still don't fully understand just yet. But thank you for explaining it to me, and thank you for not treating me like I'm some less than jabroni moron because I don't have kids yet. Because you honestly, you don't have to have any sort of skill or proficiency or expertise to have a kid. Let's remember that one too, folks. Okay? You just have to hit an egg with some of your spermies, with some of your semen. And you could be the dumbest son of a bitch alive, and you can be sleeping with the second dumbest son of a bitch alive, and it still happens. Okay? It's just like a politician. There are no qualifications. There are no prerequisite qualifications to be eligible to be a politician or to get a kid, to get someone pregnant, to have a baby. To be considered a good parent, yes, you have to have some intelligence, skill, proficiency, experience, knowledge, what have you. But not to have the kid. You could be a useless moron. There's a lot of them out there. A lot. So don't think that makes you better than people just because you had the kid. And don't think that makes us less than because we didn't have the kid yet. And if you now understand what us single, childless plebes think about now and how we feel about this stuff, hopefully that now provides you with a little bit of understanding moving forward when you're having conversations that involve maybe how you've changed your mind over the years or how you've changed your feelings towards something or your approach towards something since having children. So instead of now saying, you don't understand, you don't have kids, now you know, like, oh, there's a chance this guy is going to get mad about this, or he's going to think I think I'm better than him because I have kids and he doesn't. So, and once again, for the final time, I understand a lot of this is mostly my ego talking and my little primal ape egotistical brain, part of my brain chiming in and saying, nobody's better than you. You're the best. Nobody's smarter than you. You know everything. You understand everything. I get it. I'm admitting that fully. But from a adult, leadership standpoint, there are ways to have those conversations where nobody's ego gets involved. And that's just by exactly what I said before. Asking the question, helping people learn, not sloughing it off, helping people understand. And then for people like me, my recommendation to you is don't get pissed. Don't react to those negative emotions you're feeling about it. You come back with the question, hey, let's talk through this, because I don't have kids, but I might understand the situation at hand from an outside perspective. And if I don't, Could you help me out? Could you teach me? And that's a nicer, um, more beneficial way, less hostile way of of hopefully, obviously getting that information, getting that help and understanding from that person, but also planting the seed in their brain like, oh, I should not have just ended things with a you don't understand and then move on. I should have initiated with this information, and then you can move forward amicably. But once again, anybody who's listening to this now and has tuned in, whether you're an LPDS lifer or you're new or whatever, now you know me. Okay, if we're in a situation where you have kids and something changed with you or something's going on with you that changed because of kids or evolved within you because of having kids, because of that experience, just know that if you say you don't understand, you're getting an earful from me. I'm going to first ask the question, hey, do you know how that makes me feel? Have you heard this episode? And if you say yes, now I'm going in on you. If you say no, then we're having the conversation hunky dory. So that's all I got to say about that. Before we go, very quickly, the big three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Number one, exercise every day. Do something every day to improve your fitness, health, and wellness physically, mentally, or emotionally. So whether it's a full workout, doing a physical activity, or breaking that mental sweat, or praying, meditation, breath work on the emotional, spiritual side, do something every day. Number two, the hardest one to do, we sort of just alluded to it in the junction. Don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to be negative and shitty and angry at somebody, even if you think they deserve it, take the LPDS step back, detach from those negative emotions, and the best, the simplest thing you can do is remove yourself from the situation. It's very difficult, I understand, because when the emotions start taking over, you get angry and you want to respond to that anger. And it's a natural thing to want to do. And the negativity and the shit in the world is a lot more prevalent than the positive these days. So our brains and our minds and our hearts are constantly swimming, navigating through negative. And that's why it's the hardest to actually remove yourself from those situations. But if you do it, you'll be minimizing the shit and negativity in the world and in your life, and you'll be allowing yourself the capacity to go focus on more positive, productive things with your life, like exercising every day. Number three, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. And realistically speaking, to actually do this genuinely, just think of one good thing each day. Take the time to think of one good thing in your day. Maybe it's something that happened to you in the last 24 hours. Think of something good in the last 24 hours and think about how much worse your life would have been without that thing or without that experience or whatever. And that will put you in the state of gratitude right there, actively, immediately. And then you can start doing that twice a day, then 3 times a day, then 4 times a day. And the more you spend in that state of gratitude, the less likely you're going to be to succumb to your negative emotions and be a shitty person. So it'll be easier to remove yourself from those negative situations so that you can focus on positive, productive things like exercising. So if you do those 3 things a little bit each and every day, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more consistency, repetition, 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 I promise you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and put your notifications on and tell your friends and enemies and hit that hotline 202-670-1114. Call in the hotline. Let me know your thoughts on the you don't understand dynamic. Now, I spoke specifically about parents saying that, but it can be translated to any situation where somebody says that. You don't understand. You're not a tall guy. You don't understand tall guy problems. You don't understand short guy problems. You don't understand women problems. Tell me how you feel about that in general. Tell me how it makes you feel when people do it to you. If I'm the only one, if I'm the crazy one who's the only one who gets a little annoyed by it, let me know what you think. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.